Today we are talking about some of the earlier Scarlet and Violet sets that are taking off, starting obviously with Paldea Evolved here, and we're going to move on to a few other sets. With the Pokemon card market being in a pretty strong bull market right now, it's not surprising that we're seeing some of these early sets start to move, and Paldea was very strong. It was one of the leading sets for a long time, but some of the singles weren't doing quite as good. Like, take a look at the Magikarp, for example. Now, 63% growth in the past 3 months. In the past 3 months, the low was 105 up to 189, pretty much almost $200. 30% growth in the past month alone on the Magikarp. So if you guys are unfamiliar with this card, this is the Shinji Kanda. He's one of the artists. He did the Giratina from Lost Origin. He's done a lot of great looking cards. There's a Gyarados in the background right here if you're not familiar. This card was carrying the set. This is an illustration rare, not a special illustration rare. Kind of a trend that we're seeing from the newer sets. An IR can carry a set, and this is obviously proof of it. We'll take a zoomed out look here. So this is the 1 year chart, 244% growth. A year ago, this was a $55 card. Slowly ran all the way up to 150 and back down to that 105 mark that we talked about before. So Paldea, obviously very strong set. It was leading the MSRP for boxes. I was curious about the Japanese version of this card, so I pulled this up. This card's not up as much, but I just was curious. If the other carp is too expensive, this is only up 10% in the past month, and it's a $50 card. Last sale was $50. There was some higher sales around here, but if you're looking to pick up this card, you can even pick this up in a PSA 10 for fairly cheap. But back to Paldea. The Japanese set's called Triplet Beat, by the way. Anyways, I just thought that was random. But Paldea Evolved. The Tyranitar. This is a great illustration rare. Popular enough Pokemon. We've talked about this card a few times on the channel. But 37% growth on the past 3 months. It went from it was in the 20s, like high 20s. It shot up to 40s and then kind of came down a little to this 37.94 market. However, last sold was like closer to 45. And the last month's actually down, you can see. 14%. But if these 44 sales hold, then that would bring this back up. Take a zoomed out view again. This is not at its 1 year high. 45. Well, if recent sale at 44 would get it pretty close. So it had, $16 up to 40. That's kind of wild. Yeah, last sold's 44, 38, 37. So another 44 down there. So decent illustration rare from the set. However, there's a few other cards that we've talked about these. It's been a while since we talked about these cards. But something that's really cool about Paldea, if you guys are not familiar, is they have the new starters, the full evolution lines in IR, and then the final evolution, like the Skeledirge here, is a special illustration rare. Now, 18% isn't the craziest growth over the past 3 months. It went from 14 was the low up to 18, and they have the market at 19, with most recent sales being, excuse me, my mouse was freaking out. 17, and there's a 27, there's even a 25 sale in here. So it'd be nice to see this card at least in the 20s. The special illustration rares were easier to pull back on these early boxes, but still, it's nice to see. Skeledirge is, I think, probably the coolest starter, and he evolves from Fuecoco. If you're not familiar with Fuecoco, he's heavily featured in the new anime. He's like a derpy, I don't know. Just the way he's so derpy. I got a little plush of him over there that I picked up from Pokemon Center in Japan. But he really grew on me. So illustration rare, these ones are hard to grade. Illustration rares from this set, all of them, especially the Magikarp as well. But 10% growth on the past 3 months. Nothing too crazy, but just pretty decent. We'll zoom out to the 1 year. 1 year is a very steady climb, 33% up to around $14. Last sold's 14, 12. There's even a 17 and a 16. Not really a big surprise here, but it's just nice to see. These are connected, not connected art, but they tell a story. You got Fuecoco shopping as the little guy, then he evolves into Crocolore. He's helping shop more, and the Skeledirge, he's carrying the groceries, right? So I absolutely love that. The Crocolore, I feel like, is kind of, it's not as good of a Pokemon. It's only up 8%, so nothing too crazy. It's about $6. The 1 year chart, 44%, pretty steady, slow growth over time. But I just like this Pokemon. Not Crocolore, but like Fuecoco and Skeledirge. Crocolore is like the awkward, like teenage years. But yeah, so Paldea also has They have the Quaxley line and the Sprigatito line doing the same things. And I just think that, and they have legendaries. It's just a really good set. The booster boxes are not really quite doing so good though. Around $140. They were like the first box to get up to that price. And they've kind of just stagnated or come down a little bit. Last sale is like down 1%. Sorry, last 3 months down 1%. The 1 month chart, it's pretty flat. The 1 year is where you get a better picture of things. It was like, man, these were the good old days. Last year, or no, it was this year. In January, $91 was the low. And it slowly climbed, and yeah, $143, and it's kind of fluctuated up and down in this little $140, $130 price range. So this is a set where the box actually isn't doing super good. However, they had a lot of sales right here, 445 items. The box isn't particularly doing good, but the singles are. We're going to go over to SV Base just for a second. And SV Base, like, look at this Slowpoke. I have always liked SV Base, even before these boxes aren't, SV Base boxes aren't really anything crazy right now. But I like this set. I thought it was a super fun, great base set to open. Possibly the best base set we've ever had, just because you got SIRs right out of the gate. You got, we'll talk about some of the storytelling art in the set. But there's a few Gen 1 Pokemon in here. Like, we got a Drowsy in here as well. I don't think it made it into this video. But got this Slowpoke just chilling on the street. 42% growth in the past 3 months. Went from 7 to almost 4. Kind of, if it goes a little bit more, it'd be doubling. Most recent sales actually at $17. And 40% in the past month on the Slowpoke. The 1 year chart looking pretty good, 76%. The low was around 590. So, yeah, just nice to see, some of these cards finally getting their due. It's kind of crazy that it took like a gnarly bull market to get any movement on these cards, but it's okay. It is what it is. This is my favorite card from the set, hands down. This is a stunning card in person. 25% growth on the Gardevoir. It's up to $34 market. However, last sold, we're actually seeing 40 on here. So we'll see. That's probably an anomaly. 35, 40, 35, 34. Pulled this card. It was nice to pull from my first SV Base openings that I ever did when it first released. So that was really fun. But this is another storytelling card. Gardevoir, Ralts, and Kirlia. The Pokemon growing up with the family. I just absolutely think that that's a great... Besides the connected arts, the storytelling cards they're just great cards. It's nice to have. People want to collect them, put them in their binders next to each other. They just look really great. There's a great card. Nice. This card was second in the set. Now it's overtaken the most expensive card. So that's nice to see as well. Take a look at the Ralts here. So you can see the Ralts, the family's just moving in. Then in the Kirlia, they got the baby. They've been there for a while. And the Gardevoir, the Gardevoir is really helping with the family. They're really established. They're older now. So that's always fun. The Ralts, though, up 36% in the past 3 months from $13 to $22. Last sold's actually at 24, 22, 25. So this card ran up before. I don't know if it's going to be on. Yeah, this card ran up here to almost $18. It was at one point you could pick this up sub 10. So pretty good growth on the Ralts. The Kirlia, similar story, up 30% in the past 3 months. It's around $15. Last sold's 15, 18, 18, 15, 18. So it'd be nice to see these cards continue to run a little bit more. In my opinion, I really like these cards. 117%. This was a $7 card. So, yeah, those are pretty massive gains on the Kirlia. So, let me know in the comments. Do you guys like these cards? Is it just me? Am I just weird? Because I think they're great. You got... I like the storytelling. I think it's really great. Like, the mom here, you can see... Her hair is gray. She's all old now. Anyways. SV-based booster boxes. So these are up 30%, which is just pretty good. Pretty good for, it took a while. Just in the past 3 months, it went from 90 to 114. They have market at 119. However, last solds are, you got 114, 119, 110, 122. They're fairly consistently. I'm going to call this a $120 box. So yeah, 119, 120. Pretty good growth there. Now, if we look at the 1 year chart, this is where you're going to be kicking yourself not picking up these boxes. See these prices right here? 73, 80s, and it's fine. We talked about this recently too, but the human nature side of things is once you kind of ignore something until it starts gaining value, and that's totally fine. You just something that I try to do, really try and stick to, but it's hard. You know, sometimes you're hypocritical. I don't know. I've obviously fallen away from this as well, but when you believe in a set, like when I look at SV base, and I knew it was good, not the greatest set. I'm not saying it's the greatest set in the era, but like this is a good set. I didn't load up as much as I should have back here, and you know, you start to doubt yourself when you're seeing these boxes just being in the 80s and 90s for a long time, and you're like, oh, I don't want to dump all this money into SV base. You know, so I'm guilty of it as well. I did load up, but not as much as I would have liked. And yeah, I mean, so like for me, this is still a pretty decent entry point, 120. But for me, like I've already got my boxes, so I'm just going to hold off. But 120 a box, you know, this is a set will do decent long term. It's not my number one choice if you're looking to pick up some sealed booster boxes currently. I'd probably lean a little bit more towards Paradox. Currently, I think it's just a little bit more expensive than this set. But yeah, so SV base doing really well. We got even the Pokemon Center ETBs. This isn't surprising either. We've seen these stamped promos they just take off. They're just ridiculous. But 31% growth in the past 3 months. It was slowly climbing 80s to 90s, and then it just shot up to 115. Most recent sales even higher though. We're seeing 140 sales, 140, 140, 130. So this chart's about to look a lot crazier because yeah, this is gonna be way higher. There's only 16 currently listed on TCG. In the last year, 44% growth. You could add these for 75, 74 all day long. Then there's the other one. This is the Koraidon. 35% growth. It's a little bit behind. I guess people don't like this promo as much. I like this one. It's cool. But about $90 now. So 25 listed on TCG. Last sold 90, 100, 100, 104. And the 1 year chart's looking, yeah, you could add these in the 60s, pretty much at MSRP for a long time. And yeah, they just shot up recently. So nice to see as well. It's not a surprise. PC ETBs at this point, we've learned they all do well. With what being the last one that's still available, I think, is Shrouded. So that'll be my interesting one to keep an eye on. Like, how does that one do long term? So that'll be if that's the floor, we'll see how high the floor can go. Next up, Temporal Forces. We talked about this recently as well, but these cards continue to run. We got the Raging Bolt. Market price, $99. We're going to call this $100 just for the sake of this video. This is a $100 card now. I said how I didn't like this version of this Pokemon. I know. But it's doing well. 33% growth. Going from 66 to 100 in the past 3 months. It's pretty good. 30% growth in the past month. A lot of this is because kind of the same thing. All of these other boxes are getting expensive. Now the lesser boxes are starting to get expensive. And people are rushing to pick up these cards when they could have picked them up at a cheaper price. It happens. Once again, the human side of it. You can see the pre-release price was 50, ran up to 76, all the way down to 49, back up to 99, down to 67, and now back up to 99 again. So if we can see some more sales on this, like right here, 110, if this can hold, 113, we'll see some all-time highs for the Raging Bolt, which will be nice to see. Temporal's a fun set. You also have the Iron Crown, 30% up, went from 50 to 70 in just a short time. Last month, even 37% growth. Zoom out to the 1 year. Nowhere near its all-time high. All-time high, it went up to just under 100, 95. This card really fluctuated a lot. 50 to 90, then back down right here to 50, then back up to 80, then back down to 50, up to about $80 right now. Last sold to 80, 75, 72. So yeah, these cards have been a little bit all over the place, but that's fine. This set's doing well. We got the Walking Wake, same thing, performing really well. 21% up from 46 up to in the 60s now. Zoom out a little bit here. See pre-release prices. Yeah, like 40 up to 50, down to 37, and now back up to 60. Wow. A lot of sales right here too at this $43 mark. Second most amount of sales. But these are nice looking cards in person, I will say that. Even if you don't like the Pokemon, the cards are stunning. 21% growth on the Gouging Fire. It went from 37 up to 47. However, most recents are higher than that. We're seeing 55. We'll call these ones 50. So this is about a $50 card, maybe a little bit higher, depending. So that would bring this chart up. This chart would look a lot better once it reflects that number. And pre-release prices on this guy actually tanked after release a little. Went from 45 to 40. That's not really tanking, but back up to 50, down to 37. Yeah, it's wild the swings of some of these cards. Only 35 copies of Gouging Fire currently listed on TCG, and the lowest you could pick it up for $53. So that would be above this market price. So these cards are going up. With the boxes, this is kind of, I know that the market is crazy. The market's bringing a lot of people in, and I credit, like, once these boxes start to go up, that's when people start looking at the cards, in my opinion, for the most part. This box went from a low of 103 up to, we're going to call this 140. Most recent sale, 139. I'll call that 140. So $37 gain in the past 3 months. That's pretty solid. 139. So this is our 140 sale, then pretty much 135s. And there's a 158 sale in here, so that's interesting. Another set to keep an eye on. 188 boxes available on TCG Player. So this is one of those sets that, also some of these Pokemon are being featured in the new the Terastal Festival, the Japanese set that's coming out shortly, and the Prismatic Evolutions, that's the English set. It's coming out soon, right? I don't know how much that's going to play a factor. However, I will say this, like the Raging Bolt card and the Iron Crown, very stunning cards from that set. We're seeing a lot of I can't talk right now. A lot of Terastal being opened right now. I was watching some live streams last night of just ripping packs. That looks like a super fun set. It looks like singles, like SIR prices, are gonna definitely tank here shortly after release, just because it's one SAR per box, and yeah, so that's gonna bring it down. But I think the boxes are gonna do pretty well, especially initially. I know this video isn't about Terastal Festival, but I'm just gonna finish my thought here. People are gonna want to open those. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm really excited. I want to open those. People are going to want to open those for Christmas. So depending on the print run, when they get a reprint, I think these boxes could do pretty good, especially short term. I expect this to be a set that they print, not into the ground per se, but pretty much that they're going to print heavily because it's going to be fun to open. So if the booster box prices are high, you could probably wait. They'll come down eventually at some point, but they're still pretty affordable right now. If you're picking them up on Sneaker Dunk, you're getting them in the $50-ish range. So yeah, I think I got some boxes. It was like 51 shipped per box for the Terastal. But EV set, people are gonna want to chase it. So in summary, though, that's not what this video is about. In summary, Paldea Evolved. We got like Magikarp obviously leading the way, doing really well. Tough to grade. PSA 10 sales have been pretty high, pretty insane on that card, which is wild. Hard to grade though. And singles doing good in that set. The box not really doing as well, which is a little surprising. I think we're gonna see that box continue to run in the future, but singles doing well. Then we got SV base. I feel like that's kind of controversial to talk about, at least right now, and it definitely has been in the past. But give that some more time. I really like those cards. I was picking up a lot of SIRs from that set like a while ago, dirt cheap. So I think those will do decently. The legendaries will do well. You got some Gen 1 Pokemon in there. I really like the storytelling cards. And then, so sealed on that doing really well, though. PC ETB's booster box is doing really well. Not a surprise at all, but nice to see. And then Temporal at the end. Not every card going up. It seems like just the main cards are. But the box is doing really well. It's just nice to have some of the lesser sets doing well in this era. It's nice to see. It takes a crazy bull market apparently to make that happen. I think obviously these things would have happened just at a slower pace, right? The market is accelerating everything right now. There's new people coming in. every day. 151's brought in so many people. I don't know if Terrestrial and Prismatic will have that same effect. I think they'll obviously bring people in, but I just don't know to what extent. I feel like that's not really the set that brings people back. Like, that's what 151 was. But definitely a lot of people are going to be ripping that set. So I'm pretty excited about that. But in summary, that's it. That's what I got. Early SV base doing well. I'm happy about that. So, but yeah, that's going to do it for this one, guys. 20 minutes in. I'll catch you guys in the next one. And remember, it was never a phase.